Hey, Ty, you ever catch your parents in the act?
Uh,
You know, doing the thing?
oh God. Yeah, no, Aiden, my parents got divorced when I was one. The notion that they ever did the thing is horrifying to me.
I did once, and I will tell you all about it in just a second.
You've got Fun Factor, two old gamers reviewing old video game magazine reviews. I'm Ty Shelter, he's Aiden Moher, and we're two professional writers who grew up loving the video games and video game magazines of the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s. Every episode, we take a critical look back on the games media that, for better and for worse, inspired us to do what we do. First, before anything else, go to funfactorpod.com, follow the show on your podcatcher of choice, leave us a rating or review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your media. We'll read the best, kindest, funniest, and most insightful ones on the air in our letters section. Please consider becoming a member of FunFactor Ultra, our premium tiers that unlock ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, and the members-only channels of our Discord. Just go to funfactorpod.com, and I promise you, you cannot miss the sign-up widget on our homepage. Then help us spread the word. Shout us out on Blue Sky at funfactorpod.com and everywhere else at funfactorpod.
Okay, Ty, so before I get to the salacious details, you know, as an adult with a job, a podcast, kids, and life, time is the biggest commodity in my life these days. But back in the day, in the mid 90s, when all these magazines we've been discussing on the show were first coming out, I had all the time in the world and nothing to fill it with. I can get any video game I want now. But back then it was, waiting for the birthday, waiting for Christmas, waiting to save up my money to get a game. My birthday's late in the year though. And so this time of year, as we're recording this mid-December, this was it. If I wanted video games, this was the time it was going to happen. So I have a lot of really strong memories of gaming Christmases. It was something I looked forward to. And even now at almost 42 years old, getting a new game for Christmas is peak life experience for me. My wife got me a game a few years ago, the new Paper Mario, which was a big surprise. She's not really into games, and so for her to pick it out for me and stuff was really fun. Do you have strong memories of getting gaming gifts for the holidays, either as a kid or maybe now?
Oh yeah, of course. I think the one that stands out the most is, I think it would have been 91, because it was Tecmo Super Bowl for NES, and it was top of my chart with a bullet, top of my wish list, and I was, of course, one of those kids that was, again, single mom, right? Me, only kid. It's just the two of us, right? And so Christmas, I'm bouncing off the rev limiter at 4:45. I think it was either 5 or 6 was the earliest my mom will let me wake her up, and I'm just gripping, staring at the clock, come on, yeah, Merry Christmas at 5:59 or whatever. And I just remember Tecmo Super Bowl, locking it in. I was a big fan of the original Tecmo Bowl, right? But Tecmo Super Bowl had the NFLPA license, and now they also had the NFL license. So you had real players and real teams, and going in, and the whole schedule and everything, just incredible. So far ahead of all the other football games. Gameplay was incredible, and it had what we would now consider anime action cutscenes, right? It's not anime styled really, but they're realistic proportions, but cartoonily drawn action scenes, right? So you throw a pass, and it's going to and it'll cut to this thing, and the receiver's going to catch the ball, and whether the ball actually is caught or hits his hands and bounces off is actually the result of the play, right? You just go, oh no, that'd be incomplete, and so a lot of the sports anime stuff, which of course we didn't know about sports anime. I didn't even know about anime. Well, 10 was maybe about the time I started to see the anime in the video store, but in the rental store. But yeah, so it was so good. I just remember the chills. It was still pitch black long before the sun rose yet, and just playing it and being this is the greatest thing. I don't care if I get anything else for Christmas. I don't care about grandma and grandpa's. I don't care about second Christmas at my dad and stepmom's. This is what I got. This is all I got. My mom listening to this is probably going like, well, what about the NES and the Power Pad with and the Zapper combo? That was incredible also, obviously. I could rattle off the list, but I think the number one, just like sheer like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted, and it's so much better than I even dreamed, was the Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that was one of the things, is like you're looking forward to something and it's got to be as good as you need it to be, right? Like,
Yes.
the flip side of this conversation is like disappointments, that thing that you like, you're hoping for this and then you got something else and it was not what you wanted, mom or dad got it wrong, or you got what you wanted and then it didn't end up being what you thought it was going to be. But one that stands out for me, like memory, was the Nintendo DS, the original, the silver, the bulky one. And so I was hoping for one for Christmas. And we woke up, me and my brothers all at home, went down, looked at the tree. And my brothers got some sweet swag. We all got our stockings. And in front of my stocking was just two little, like, hand weights for some reason. And I was like, okay, I guess, like, I'm old. That's fine. Whatever. And then, but as I dug through my stocking, down at the very bottom was a Nintendo DS, which just was fabulous. My mom was trolling me. She still brings it up. She was very proud of herself. I was very happy to get a Nintendo DS and Super Mario 64. But getting back to the cold open, the big one for me also involves Super Mario 64. Back when the Nintendo 64 came out, I didn't get one at launch, but I did buy Super Mario 64 and rented a Nintendo 64. After watching a friend play it at his house, I was like, I gotta have this. This is too good. And then I bought a copy of Super Mario 64 because I could play it on a rented Nintendo 64, take it to my friend's house. And then I asked for one for Christmas, of course. And so, me and my brothers were all into games, especially me and my youngest brother. And so, we kind of like pie in the sky, like, let's ask for one, hope to get one. Didn't have money to buy our own. And then so fast forward to like Christmas time, and I've talked before about how I grew up on a small island. So Christmas shopping was like a family affair, even for my parents. There was no like sneaking out and doing it on a lunch break or whatever. It was, we would go over to the big mall and everybody would be there. And so 1996, I was at the mall, a big mall with my dad, my brother, and we were at Walmart. Even though, like, I'd usually beeline it for the electronics section to check out all the video games, my dad, sort of out of character, was sent us off to the toy section and said, hey, go check out the toys, like, ostensibly, like, look at the toys, figure out what you want to get for each other. But okay, just, I'll come find you there. Right? Which should have been a red flag, but I wasn't very smart. So, we did that. We went over to the toy section, but, my dad was taking a bit longer than we expected, which was probably like 6 minutes, right? Like it probably was not as long as I remember. But, being 13 and 10, I had, the superiority of being the older sibling. So I was like, okay, no, I'm done. I'm bored. Let's go to the electronics section. So I quickly convinced my brother to head back, check out the video games. As soon as we got into the like cordoned off electronics section, there's my dad standing at the till, paying for a Nintendo 64, which was meant to be hidden in the car, in the trunk. But we caught him in the act, which was pretty exciting. So he took me a call, but I think we had to wait until Christmas morning to actually play it. But I finally had a way to play my very own copy of Super Mario 64.
That is outstanding, and I say one of the probably my best gaming related Christmas present memory is, I would have to go back and what year did the Switch come out?
2017.
17? Yeah. So 2017 was kind of my I don't want to say professional nadir, but as a writer, it's like I lost my full-time gig at Bleacher Report. I was trying to stack together freelance gigs. I had like a half-time gig with Lions Wire with USA Today Sports Media Network, and I was immediately discovering that like a half-time gig plus freelance was just, it was more work to get the work than it was to do the work, and it was not adding up to enough money, and it was not adding up to enough money regularly enough or getting paid on time or anything You know, it was a disaster. 2017, very rough year for me personally and professionally, but managed to score a Switch. And so we were at my mom and stepdad's house, and had the kids unwrap a Switch, and they lost their minds. And we had Smash Brothers, and we had, and so the kids were just like jumping around and like, and my mom was like, "This is too cool! Like, what a cool Christmas!" Like, she was super glad to be able to be there to see me and my wife be able to give our kids the kind of joy that she was able to give me, and like that was such a special moment. That was just super cool.
Full circle moment, right? Because like
yes.
Now, as a dad, it's different for me because my kids are still quite a bit younger than yours. They both like games, especially my youngest is really into games, plays a lot of the Switch too, but I just buy everything anyway. Like, they don't want for games. If Kirby Air Rider's coming out, they just get it, right? Like, they're not learning any of the lessons that I learned as a kid. So gaming gifts aren't really a hot item in my household. They want Lego. They want, robot animals. They want, like other Lego, like kid stuff, because video games they just get. Would my youngest love a second Switch 2 so that her and her sister could play at the same time? Would I love a second Switch 2 so that I don't have to find the same spot in Metroid every time I play? Because otherwise my youngest will come along and close my game. Yeah. But it's just not really the reality. And so it's just kind of funny because, like, as millennials, we were the first generation to grow up knowing a world with video games. And now there's just not much of a generational divide between us and our kids when it comes to games. They're just a thing that we all do. It wasn't like that with our parents, even though my parents were pretty hip to games. Like my dad, one of the reasons he was buying us a Nintendo 64 was because he wanted to check it out, right?
Sure.
The reason I got a Game Boy is because my mom wanted to play the Star Trek game on Game Boy. So, like, I had pretty gaming forward parents at the time, but it's not like it is now, where like my kids come to me for like gaming questions and like, if we can get this, can we get that, dad? Can we get that, dad? And it's like, yeah, I'm probably gonna buy Kirby Air Riders, or probably gonna buy whatever. Or, yes, I've pre-ordered the Animal Crossing DLC already. It's all good, guys. Like, don't worry, I got it. So it's a little different, but
my son's like, Dad, no, we can't get a Switch 2 because I do not support Nintendo's draconic DRM policy. I'm like, okay, okay, all right.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, but like, what if I want to play Metroid? What if I want to see it?
Metroid, yeah.
Like, what? What if I want to give it a whirl?
Like,
I don't know.
Kids just want Robux, don't they? Or like V-Cash or whatever it is in Fortnite. Like, that stuff's that stuff's trouble. But but yeah, I mean, it's a different world. But I definitely cherish a lot of those gaming memories. But making gaming memories now isn't sort of that thing that I think parents watch for their kids. It's something that we sort of take part in, and it's not confined to to just that Christmas season anymore. At least not for me and my family.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And, for better and for worse. And I actually compare it often to rock and roll, right? Where, like, rock and roll is the baby boomers thing, right? Mm-hmm. They were teenagers when it broke huge. They were the audience for it. They became the creators of it. They became the drivers of it as live audiences, as recorded audiences, and all the way through to, it's still, right? Like, if the Rolling Stones go on tour, the baby boomers that are around to pay the money to see them and have $1,000 a ticket or whatever it is to go, they'll still go do it. They'll still go do it, right? And like, the music has, grown and evolved and whatever all else, right? But like, a lot of our kids are not listening, our kids' generations-ish, Zoomer Alpha, like guitar-driven rock and roll is not where music starts and stops. And like, obviously it's not entirely where music stops, but as you can see behind me, guitar-driven rock and roll is very important to me personally, and that's because my mom we would listen to the oldies channel, and she'd be like, we'd play Name That Tune, right? Like, it'd be like, intro kicks on, Ty, what's this song?
in the car when I was growing up.
100%.
But
And my mom listened to new stuff too, right? And
yeah,
my wife, her parents were both music majors. That's how they met, was
okay,
music majors in
okay,
college, you know.
yeah,
And so she grew up with guitars around, and her dad, raising her on rock and roll and stuff. And so like that was, and now we're kind of sharing that with our kids. Hey kids, these are games. This is gaming. Like check it out,
yeah,
cool, you know. And like that fandom and consuming games media, and I'm always poking around and see like, hey, what content creators are you listening to? You're
yeah,
hey dad, you might like this, right? Or
yeah,
they'll see, oh, this I'll put something on, or share something from a podcast and go, you
right,
guys should check this out, and I still get eye rolls, right? Like
yeah, oh
I'm
yeah,
still dad, I'm still not the cool guy a lot
100%,
of times, right? But
100%,
like being
yeah,
able to share in that with them is so
yeah.
special.
Music's funny too, because like my tastes were definitely shaped a lot by my parents early on. Especially listening to a lot of my mom's oldies and stuff, right? My kids will not listen to the music that I want to listen to. So again, my tastes in music, or what I listen to, is shaped so heavily by my kids. They won't listen to Less Than Jake or The Offspring or NoFX or whatever if I put it on in the car. And like they definitely won't listen to all the whole like backpack rap that I try to put on, like Deep Puddle Dynamics or whatever. So then like, I end up listening to Taylor Swift, which leads me into discovering Olivia Rodrigo and Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just, I don't know. It's interesting to see. I think millennials are just fun from a funny cultural generation in that way. But
Yeah,
we have a
absolutely.
lot to talk about. I think it's time to throw to the next break, and get going with the issue we're talking about in this episode of Fun Factor.
The what? The issue?
The
Oh,
issue.
the issue, the
The
magazine, the
issues.
subject of the
Yeah.
podcast, the thing that we're supposed to be talking about. That's right. If you are not already a member of Fun Factor Ultra and getting ad-free episodes, hang tight through this break. When we come back, we will flip through EGM's top 100 games of all time. All time. Welcome back to Fun Factor, where two old gamers review old video game magazine reviews. Of course, we want you to review us. Do we get a full 5.0 in Fun Factor? Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll read the best, funniest, kindest, and most entertaining ones on the air.
This episode, we're looking at a doozy of an issue. I had initially planned to do the next issue of EGM, because that's their equivalent of like a holiday gift guide. It's the holidays. But this issue, number 100, is just so influential and important. I couldn't skip it. It's not only celebrating EGM's 100th issue, major milestone, it provides an extended top 100 games of all time list. And, well, I have thoughts. Of course I have thoughts, and you will too, I'm sure. So instead of picking it, instead of picking out a specific review, and there's quite a few good ones here, including Treasures of the Deep, Excalibur 2555 AD, and a hardware review of Philips Electronics Scuba Visor accessory, we're actually going to review EGM's top 100 list. End off the year with sort of a banger retrospective.
In the Philips Scuba, I believe I have mentioned, I think it was during our Doom review, my rich friend who had the toys, he had a Philips Scuba.
No.
Oh yes.
Was it
Yes.
good? I assume it was just a rudimentary VR set, like
Yeah.
LCD panels in front of your eyes.
It it was, as I believe Penny Arcade once said, like putting a 52-inch projection TV where your brain is supposed to be. It was incredibly heavy, incredibly large, and it was like if looking at a Viewmaster could let you see Doom. It was gigantic.
Amazing.
It was a little washed out, in terms of
was...
like the brightness, not a lot of color saturation, but it was gigantic. And we used to have, everybody would bring their PlayStations. He had several TVs plus the Philips. Those of us who had TVs that were portable, like mine, as my previously mentioned 13-inch Samsung, I'd bring mine. And we had a few link cables. We all had copies of Doom, and we would set up 3 or 4, depending on how many people and how many copies of everything we could bring and swing, we would do weekend-long Doom tournaments. And one of us would have to use the Philips Scuba. And
had to, as though that was like the short straw.
Well, here's the thing, is that Doom has very realistic like bounce and sway as you walk. And also the Philips Scuba does not have head tracking, right? So if you hear something to your right, and there's stereo sound, so you hear it anyway to your right, you turn to your right and you're still looking in the same direction, and then you vomit in that direction. Is basically what the experience was like.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I mean, it was cool, but it took a strong stomach and a sense of direction in order to
be fair, if I was in a like base, like a science fiction base on Mars's moon, and demons invaded, I would probably be projectile vomiting everywhere. So it just sounds authentic.
Very similar.
I need to look more into these, because I love the thought that perhaps the weight was because they were using CRT technology instead of LCD panels, which could happen. There were like handy cams, like personal use video recorders that would have little tiny CRTs in the viewfinder.
I believe it was that plus mirrors.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And because you could then control the like pupil distance and like focal length and stuff. So I believe it was one little CRT and then 2 mirrors that you could then
so there's
adjust.
No stereoscopic effect. Like no 3D. It was just a flat image, which is probably also like messing around with your inner ear as well.
Yeah.
But in any case, EGM did not give it very good reviews. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about the feature on the cover of this issue, which is a huge double like fold out spread with a big 3D embossed number 100 plastered on the front, and surrounded by bespoke hand-drawn characters from like every popular game out there. You've got Mario and Sonic, of course, Link, the Joust Knights, Ken and Ryu, Crash Bandicoot, Raiden, Earthworm Jim, Fox from Star Fox, Samus a Chocobo, and even, I believe, Ed Samrad hiding behind a Pinky Demon from Doom.
Also, is that not Pinky?
Oh,
Pac-Man.
That might be. I don't know their names, but that
I don't know either.
It could be. Look at that. You even have the duck from Adventure up on the top of the second 100. So you have some C64
got the Enterprise
representation, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Star Wars, Daytona USA.
Oh, wait a sec. That's Steve Harris behind the Pinky Demon. I think Ed Samrad is over by the Batman.
Yeah.
Okay. We got it. But it's pretty cool. It's fun. And like when I was, anybody who is following along with my personal life for some reason knows I was on strike earlier this year. And so I would bring old magazines to the strike site to look through, because I was getting bored of looking at my phone all the time. And I did bring this issue and read through it on the strike site. And part of that was like, just the vibes of this cover just brought me back to the idea of like living in this sort of golden age of video games. And the mid 90s was, as good as it got, really, growing up as I was 14 years old, 13 years old when this came out, and we were getting hit by, game after game after game. And I look at this cover and like, objectively, is the art great? Like, no, it's not. Link looks closer to his like cartoon animated series version than, than the games, but it's cool. It just makes me feel good.
Yeah, the execution quality. Samus looks great. Ball Bull looks really good. Earthworm Jim looks really good. Homie from Dragon's Lair, a little rough. Also looks a little closer to Link than either of those two dudes should look to each other. The degree of difficulty here, that's a sick Batman. You can tell which characters this artist has drawn many times before. This
lot
Hubert
of detail and time
right
spent on Lara Croft's boobs. Like far more than like any other character. Like there's like shade, and like everybody else is sort of pillow shaded or like flat shaded. But then Lara Croft's boobs are like heavily detailed with like really good shading. Because I do like, and then there's Dalsim from Street Fighter, and he's like behind Mario at the bottom of the one, but then his neck is extending, so he's looking up above the top of the one. It's pretty funny. Like lots of great details just to peek through, and
That's
good little
excellent.
in jokes that show an understanding of the games as well.
For
Which is
sure,
fun.
for sure. And this is the Star Wars and Star Trek crafts are fighting the Space Invaders.
Yeah, right. Up there with sort of the Galaga stuff and the Space Invaders stuff. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Pretty fun. So, good cover, good issue. There are like 252 pages in this episode, in this issue. It's big. And as we're browsing through, we're going to see that lots of ads, but also just lots of real content. The number of games reviewed is 100, sorta. There's also actual reviews, which is about 12 or 15 of those. Number of systems reviewed for a lot, because we're doing 100 games. But realistically, it was, PlayStation and Saturn and, the stuff that was fairly popular in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at the masthead on page 8. Because immediately I'm struck by how strongly the staff of the magazine at this point ended up being big players at oneup.com and playing an important role in that shift toward personality-based games media, which we are going to talk about later in this episode. We've got publisher Jonathan Lane, editorial director Joe Funk, and managing editor Ken Williams. Not that Ken Williams. But after that, we start getting names like Crispin Boyer as features editor, Sean Smith, John Ricciardi, and future EGM EIC and OneUp.com EIC, Dan Shu, as associate editors, starting out their careers at EGM. And Dan in particular would go on to do some really big things with the magazine and with OneUp.com. Ed Samrad's in there as a chief correspondent, and of course he had a huge role in EGM's early days. And friend of the show, Chris Johnston, joins Helen Lee as online editor. Lots of big names, lots of recognizable people early on in their career, and you can kind of see the progression they take. But I want to make a quick stop at the review crew page on 190, Ty, because among the crew is, drumroll, Kelly Rickards, complete with a photo.
Wait,
you
hold
remember
up.
Kelly Rickards, Ty?
Oh, yeah, Kelly Rickards, the hot girl, right?
Yeah, the hot girl. Yes, that's right. From Game Fan, I believe. And so Game Fan would, that's not, yeah. Well, yeah.
Kelly Rickards, bottom left and picture above.
Yeah. And so, of course, we've covered this in past issues, but when
we have
Kelly worked for, I believe it was Game Fan. Game Fan would get non-stop fan letters writing and asking for pictures of Kelly Rickards because all the gamer dudes, all the little boys assumed Kelly Rickards was a girl, which was cute. They all had crushes on Kelly Rickards. And then, sure enough, there's Kelly working at EGM as part of the review crew, which was pretty fun.
Outstanding stuff. I like the BTS stuff. It's a great idea to, turn the camera on these guys, because as we've seen, again, we're talking about personality driven stuff. Some of the other magazines are starting to update their headshots. Remember the Game Players crew had that, hey everybody, somebody brought a backdrop, like a blue and white sort of vague clouds photo backdrop from like Life Touch from the 90s. Everybody go stand in front of it, and Bill Donahue looks Hobbit sized.
Oh yes.
Chris Slate looks like he's about 7'9" in comparison.
Still need to find out if that's accurate. I choose to believe it is. But before we get to the behind the scenes stuff, I want us to go back to the letter section, which starts on page 16. Here we go. So on page 16, there's a letter called Cloud 9 from Tara in Springfield, Massachusetts. I'm going to ask you to read that letter and the follow-up response from the EGM crew.
You always have these very revealing pictures of females in your magazine. Lara Croft, Pai Chan, etc. Not all EGM subscribers are male, you know? How about a picture of Final Fantasy VII's Cloud in his underwear next issue? Please? Tara, in quotes, from Springfield, Massachusetts. And here we have the iconic shot of Cloud in front of the Shinra building, and an inset photo with an extra special highlight of the Buster Sword and a quarter of Cloud's ass with an inset picture that says Cloud's ass.
It's kind of like the taint, right?
Yeah. It's
You're
a
not
good
even getting
shot
much
for
cheeks.
sure.
You're just getting
no.
that gap. Yeah.
We would love to make your fantasy come true, Tara. But because of all the controversy surrounding us publishing the Nude Raider web address, the best we can offer you is half a butt shot of Cloud, fully clothed, of course. And I want to tell everybody that for the past 5 years, my lock screen has been the Final Fantasy VII remake shot of this exact pose of Cloud, but with the nail bat, because I love the nail bat. And you couldn't get this pose because you couldn't get the nail bat at that point in the game, and also it would show Cloud with the Buster Sword regardless of what sword he had, because of course it was pre-rendered. And when I saw Cloud doing that pose with the nail bat that I had equipped, I marked fully out. And to me, already the entire remake series, bought, paid for, worth it. I'm in. Bless you. Thank you, God, Square Enix.
Amazing. That's dedication. Did you write in letters to EGM in 1997 signing them Tara?
I did not. I did write in, as you know, to game players a couple of times.
You did, yes. We'll get to that at some point.
I'm sure we will.
But one thing that this made me kind of think about is, I want you to flip through the next few pages. Because this raises a conversation about editorial oversight, of course.
Like here, like
but
this
also
one, in the immediate opposing ad.
Yes. Like what assets the magazines had to work with. Describe the next 3 women you see in this magazine.
Well, speaking of assets that people have to work with, here's Lara Croft in a bikini doing the strong female character's boobs and butt pose while holding a gun. We also have Sephiroth here posed in a very checking Lara out angle. That doesn't seem to be intentional from MTV's Game Brain. Okay. Ron McLean. Okay, and then oh boy. Yeah, so Shiny's Messiah. There's a great cover of this. Great, like Shiny, they had this whole like tesserated graphics thing that's supposed to be like infinitely scalable. Like it was constantly interpolating how many polygons there were based on the available hardware, which seems super cool. Also, they used it to make boobs and G-strings and corsets and whatever is happening with the top here. And homie from Virtua Fighter is losing his hat over it. And then Liz is dead or alive? Yeah.
I expect so. Yeah.
And doing a bar stretch in a one-piece swimsuit. Also no bar. The bar is these screenshots of the game. So yeah.
And actually, we've got a 4th bonus. You do have to scroll a while before you find another woman, but we do have a 4th bonus woman if you keep scrolling, which we'll be familiar with from earlier episodes.
Yes. I believe literally our last episode had the same Ghost in the Shell ad.
Yeah.
Featuring the good Major. So yes.
And so, when I started thinking about this, it was, there was an issue with a lot of these magazines. I think EGM in particular, like specifically, chasing a lot of the lad mags from this time. Stuff like, I don't know if Maxim was around specifically, but that idea, right? Like these are lifestyle magazines for young men, for teenage boys, not just video game magazines. And so there were, there are a lot of scantily clad women, but those were also the assets being provided by the companies to represent those games.
Yes.
It's not like EGM or their artists is going out and creating 3D renders of Lara Croft in a bikini. And they weren't being given, certainly, like, thirst pics of Cloud Strife and some lacy underwear.
No, they weren't.
That would come with the remake, of course. But, they were working with what they had, and it kind of shows deep at its core how women in games were portrayed. Even though women had been making and influentially steering video games as an art, as a culture, as an industry since its beginning. they were still commoditized in a lot of ways. And I thought that letter was really kind of, no pun intended, revealing about, some of the issues that even if they wanted, to create better representation, they're not getting, saucy pictures of dudes. Are they getting non-saucy pictures of women that they could use?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what are they being provided with from PR, and how much, then would they be pushing back or seeking out better representation? But just something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've seen in some magazines, to what extent are they going to get their own screenshots, right? Their own assets? Are they commissioning their own art? Because some of them are. Some of them had in-house artists, and I think that increased through this era. But then also sometimes those artists were being hired to produce more cheesecake of these video game characters, right? And we also have the same. This is fun because I'm going to go ahead and presume that Tara here in quotation marks is in fact a lady or girl as presented here. So like because usually the comeback, especially at this time, is there's all these shots of like buff dudes too, but like those are also meant to be power fantasies for 14-year-old
like
boys,
the male gaze, right?
Exactly, 100%, right? This is not like so if we're objectifying these characters, we're not doing it equally, and we're certainly not doing it with equal perspectives in mind. So no, you're right. And I think also it shows, especially at the time, how people weren't necessarily aware of like where these pictures are coming from, or how much of the content in some of these magazines. And again, it varies by magazine, by staff, by budget, right? And we say, and it's not 1-to-1. There's 4 quadrants, right?
Yeah.
Because as we discussed, GamePro is like 12 weirdos in a basement with a bunch of secondhand computers, and yet nobody was working. I'm sorry, GamePro. I said GameFan. I meant GameFan. GameFan. Nobody was working harder to get original screenshots and original art and present the games as best they could, because it was all passion about the games that was driving it. Meanwhile, you had much better funded magazines, that were just going, cool, box art, boom, clip, boom, Photoshop, boom, there you go. There's not a single original asset in the mag, right? And that's, again, and it's quadrants, right? Because there's also well-funded magazines that are going and commissioning original art and doing everything themselves, and there's magazines that are poorly funded and doing the box art. So it's all over the map.
Yeah, absolutely. But carrying on to page 42, we're getting deep into the preview section, and specifically a preview, a tiny little one, of Zelda 64, which always stood out in my mind as something that when
it is tiny,
Zelda
like
screenshots
tiny.
popped up,
oh my gosh,
tiny. There's 2 screenshots, but we all know at this point how I felt about a lot of those early 3D games. And, in hindsight, I'm not a huge Ocarina of Time fan, but man, those screenshots, these ones, any ones that popped up, was always, cause for serious speculation, because the hype for that game was wild.
Can we rewind to I'm not that big an Ocarina of Time fan? What?
Yeah. Well, I guess we need to do an Ocarina of Time episode.
We should.
But
we should.
I
don't
will. Like the hub and spoke world design very much.
Okay.
Which is my major criticism of it. But
holy
that
cow,
could be a whole episode.
Wow. Andrew in the chat goes, the resolution on some of those assets is insane for the time. Jack 2's press kit had 4K stills back in 2003. Good gravy. That's
rendering
that's
that stuff at that time. It is also interesting, like, to think about like how like a lot of these shots used to be taken by somebody going to trade shows in Japan, just taking photos and stuff like that. But you're also, like you were just saying, a lot of these screenshots now are like press assets, right? That were probably provided by Nintendo or by the publisher. But it was a fun time to look through a lot of these previews of games as we scroll through the rest of the preview section. There's some pretty big hitters. There's Diddy Kong Racing, Resident Evil 2, Mega Man Neo, which would be released as Mega Man Legends. Like genuinely beautiful 3D game from this era. And this is just a generation starting to come into its own, find its personality, find its groove. There's a lack of RPGs here though, which is interesting because of their importance to the success of the PlayStation during this era. So that really stood out to me, that we didn't have a lot of those RPGs being thrown in our face at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm looking and I'm not seeing a single. I mean, Riven.
There's like Tactics Ogre.
Okay.
But like that's a Super Nintendo game that's just being re-released, right? And like we're in 1997. Like Final Fantasy VII is out. It has sold a bajillion copies, right?
Yes,
it's just come out. There's a huge ad at the beginning. But we're probably still. It's probably still just early enough that people hadn't had a chance to pivot. Right? So we had the Suikoden's that had come out, the Beyond the Beyonds, the Wild Arms, but we weren't yet in that deluge. And so as this issue was coming out is probably when all the publishers were starting to look at Final Fantasy VII and go, whoa, what are we missing here? We need to get these games in front of like Western fans ASAP. And so I'd be very curious to see, this is a November 1997 issue. I want to look forward. Let's look at like March 1998. And see how many RPGs there are in the preview section.
Yeah.
Bet there's a ton at that point.
Big fan of this FIFA 98 preview. Looking more like a wounded bear than a defender. This guy chokes. Oh, man. How do we do the beautiful game when we've got like 17 polygons per player?
You keep it 2D.
Yeah. And NCAA football. Ugh.
Oh, we're going to get to sports games in a second.
All right.
Up next. On page, actually, I don't know what page it is, but up next is a big feature. The top 100 games list.
Yeah.
It follows the preview section. We're going to skip it for now.
Okay.
And head to page 164. And this is actually something we talked about briefly earlier. On page 164 is a feature called Area 52. And then it says confidential. It looks like a stamp, a government stamp.
Yeah.
And this is like inside the review crew is one of the subheads. And it's like a little dossier about the review crew, trying to put personality behind the people reviewing the games. And I think it's a really interesting look at how EGM and Ziff Davis and the people involved there recognize that like who is making the magazine is just as important or more important than the magazine itself. And celebrating 100 issues, not just by celebrating games, but celebrating, the personalities that make it happen and the personalities that got them to 100 issues. And I think, this is probably one of the starts of that personality-driven media.
I'm sorry.
Ty's going nuts.
I'm reading Crispin Boyer's, like the alias, date of birth, city of origin, specialty, his big idea for a game, fighter, a light gun shooter, and I'm sitting here like, oh, it's kind of like Burning Rangers, in which you kill firemen with a flamethrower before they can shoot back with their water hoses.
Crispin was, and I assume remains a strong personality. That is very on brand.
That rules. Chris has nothing against firemen. He just likes the irony of the game's ridiculous premise. Oh, God, I can't even read.
And there, like, that level of, like, emotional reaction you had to that is so vital, right? Because that makes then the next thing that Crispin writes mean more to you. You understand it better because you've laughed at his silly joke about a video game. And I think that that's just really important. And we're seeing here, I think, the birth of Ziff Davis's personality-driven, empire that would rise up over the next several years before sort of collapsing in on itself. But we see the remnants of that, have influenced and shaped modern games journalism, but modern games culture, like, tremendously.
Yes.
Over the past 20 years, 25 years.
I gotta say, we're getting some spoilers for the section that we skipped. because I'm kind of scrolling through some of these guys already and looking at their top 10 favorite games and going, I see the shape of how we arrived at some of the list because we can see each of their top 10s, right?
Yep.
Personally. Yep. Yeah, no, this is fascinating and exactly the kind of thing that Sushi X, here we go. Yeah. So many of them have Pong for their first video game owned, right? And of course, and a lot of them are like Crispin's is like Pong, Natch. Like, of course, everybody's first video game was Pong. Also, he's 10 years older than me, which a lot of these guys are, and it really drives home, 75. I was born in 81. So got 71, 75, 73, 68. That it's we've talked about this before, right? Where it was, 17 to 25-year-olds creating content for 12 to 16-year-olds, really? And yet
kids writing for kids, right?
Indisputably grown adults writing for indisputably children, at least the target audience was, right? And like, if we met in real life now, we would be like, you and I are effectively the same age.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, people in the mastheads of these, like, I talk to regularly, we're friends, right? Like,
yes.
And even though there is that difference in age, it doesn't really like feel that different. But at the time, they were absolutely adults writing, writing for me, and they felt grown up. They felt,
to bring it back into music, I
generation.
believe Dave Grohl is exactly 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
And it's like,
right.
When I was 9, he was drumming for Nirvana, the biggest band in the world and one of the biggest bands ever.
Yeah.
And I was 9 and he was drumming for Nirvana.
Yeah.
And now like I'm a 44-year-old dad and he's a 54-year-old dad. We're effectively the same dude.
Definitely the same guy for sure. I want you to just go a couple pages, maybe it's the next page, but this is followed up, this dossier style feature is followed up by a broader feature called Behind the Screens, and it digs into the here, quote, "It's a candid look at the madcap antics of the gamers who create EGM." And we've talked a lot about personality driven games media that was about to explode, but I think these features show the way that, like, understanding the people who make the magazine help you understand the magazine. This feature is loaded with like really great photos, and they're black and white, given that like documentarian style. They're sort of like, fly on a wall style photos. If you go to the next page, which is page 177, 176, there's a photo of Ed Samrad. Oh, it's actually the next. Here we go. Ed Samrad sitting behind a large desk in a wood-paneled office with John Ricciardi, who now works for 8-4, is still prominent in the industry. Sitting with John and Ed is Wataru Murayama, who I believe you once speculated might not be a real person.
No, okay, wait. Okay, no, Wataru Maruyama was the editor of he was editor of PSX, and then became the editor of the official US PlayStation magazine, and then West Coast editor, which is listed as a job in this masthead. I noted he would go on to be promoted to West Coast editor for Ziff Davis. The fake person, I think, wrote for was it
Intelligent Gamer?
Intelligent Gamer. Yes,
yeah,
it was Intelligent Gamer. I thought it was 100%. Intelligent Gamer had a Japanese named person reporting from Japan and sending in articles and pictures that were clearly taken live in Akihabara and like whatever all else. But as far as I could tell, that person was not a real person. Yeah, go ahead.
To follow up on that, I actually talked with somebody from Intelligent Gamer who couldn't 100% confirm, couldn't remember who, but did confirm that probably was a Japanese pen name for somebody who worked on staff elsewhere.
I'm mind blown. Yeah. I didn't even know this. I'm finding this out live.
Oh, there you incredible. Go. Yeah, so I'm getting my people mixed up because I was like, wait a second when I saw that photo. But yes, so there we go. It's funny how small the world is as well.
Yes,
Like how many people kind of cross over from all of these different magazines. But yeah, I really liked this. I like the idea of the magazine celebrating itself in its 100th issue. And of course, the behind the scenes stuff is fascinating to me now, but I loved it back then. You know, John Ricciardi, who's in a bunch of these photos, on the 84 Play podcast, which he hosts. 84 is a Japanese video game localization company, works on lots of great stuff doing English to Japanese translations and Japanese to English translations. They'll often get into conversations about their work as localizers. And then one of the hosts will be like, I don't know, we got to like get off this. This is too inside baseball, too how the sausage is made. Nobody cares about this. And I'm like, no, I care about this. Like, please keep talking about this. And so, you know, I love to see, you know, the inside baseball style look at how the work happens. And, you know, does this glorify the idea of, oh, we're just a bunch of gamers who, you know, just play games and write about them? A little bit, but it also doesn't stray away from, you know, revealing the grueling work-life balance required to produce a monthly magazine, like 16-hour work days, living at the office, how the job was your life. It was a lifestyle. It was what you did and who you were. And I think that, you know, that's worthwhile as well, because making these magazines, being a game critic, is so much more than just playing video games all the time, right? But they're talking about putting in a 16-hour day and then having to go home and play the video games that they're going to review. And I think it's really good to show that, you know, there was a lot of hard work that went into this this career.
Associate editor Dean Hager toils through another stressful game sequence left, while sympathetic Terry Minich types in all work and no play for the 12 millionth time. Meanwhile, Crispin takes a nice little cat nap on the floor of his cubicle. You know, and this is presumably staged, right? But, like, I think, you know, our picture of it is like the Candyland. It's like Willy Wonka, but video games, right? These games magazines get play. I'm like, okay, there's a Pac-Man cabinet. Okay, cool. This is still a boss at a desk and two workers, and the boss is telling the workers what's up. You know what I mean? This is work. This is a job. These guys are working, and they're having fun, but they're working.
It reminds me, it's like a prototype version of the One Up show, which, like, you know, showed us that behind the scenes stuff, but also sort of like revealed to me that, like, hey, this is work. This is a career that people have. It's something that people do and can do and work hard at. And that was always inspiring to me as well with the One Up show. So I love seeing this, you know, I love seeing this put out in this way and taken seriously, even if the content itself is a little goofy. I think the idea behind it was really good. As we follow up these features, we get to the review section, which for once we're not going to dive into, because after the break here, we're going to get to the good stuff, which is a look at the top 100 list in EGM number 100.
All right, when we get back, our review of EGM's review of all the games of all time condensed into a top 100 list, and ending, of course, where all time means at the publication of this issue, right here on FunFactor. Well, we're having 5 out of 5 stars worth of fun today. And folks, if you are too, leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Let us know on a comment on YouTube. Wherever it is, we will read the best, funniest, kindest, and most entertaining ones on the air. But now it's time. Let's review EGM's review of every game ever.
Okay, so review format. It's a top 100 list. The EGM editors picked 100 games and put them in order. Throughout, they've also got, you know, other industry folk, like everybody's favorite localizer, Victor Ireland, who picked Tengai. David Perry, who picked Command & Conquer for their top game, for their top 10 games. And then they've got a sidebar for Reader's Top 10, which is capped off with Tomb Raider, Super Mario 64, Resident Evil, and a whole heap of recency bias. The only real stipulations here was it had to be released on console. They weren't doing PC games, except for their guests, like David Perry. And it had to have been out by October 1997, basically. So those are the stipulations. That was the criteria. It doesn't really go into how they resolve disputes. I have a few disputes, but we'll see. We'll see. What do you think? What do you think, Ty?
Oh, yeah, I have notes. I have notes positively and negatively, and this really highlights both the difficulty and the importance of this exercise, right?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
multiple other magazines at this time or around this time would go on to do the same thing. I know Next Generation did the same thing within a year, 6 months swing of this. And obviously every serious publication ever has taken at least one swing at this,
yes.
Right? And it going back and looking at this is a time capsule, and it tells us, okay, where was the recency bias? Where was the nostalgia bias? Right? And it's the antidote to the thing that I talk about all the time, where you go, hey, this is the chronicling of history. This is the chronicling of the industry. This is the chronicling of the art form. Yes, and the chronicling of the fan culture at the time. And you go, when you say, oh, well, back in the 90s, nobody blah. Or back in the 90s, everybody blah. Or, there's this hidden gem that nobody appreciated, and it's going to be number 7 on this list of the 100 best games of all time. And also there are going to be games that goes, oh, of course, everybody knew this was the best game of all time, and it's going to be like 62. So I think it's really important that this work gets done. And as much as and again, you're talking to a guy who worked for Bleacher Report full time for almost 7 years. I cranked out top 10, top 32, top 50, top 100 lists all the time. And it was clickbait, and it was click fodder, and it was just designed to churn traffic and ad revenue so that I could get paid money to live and eat. And that was what it was. But the other thing of it is, okay, now we can go back and we can look, and this is a great time capsule and a synthesis of all these different personalities that we just saw, and we saw their specialties and their likes and dislikes and their preferences and biases and everything. And okay, now we can see when they all get together, go, this is our top 100. Here's their top 100.
Absolutely. The game kicks off with a great the feature kicks off, sorry, I should say, with a great graphic. It's the number 100, but it's built out of stacked CRT TVs, which is obviously right up my alley. They all have, superimposed images, composited images of the games that appear here. But it's a pretty fun graphic to kick things off with. They also break down some of their methodology by quoting industry icon, quote unquote, Trip Hawkins, who said, quote, "What gamers should care most about is gameplay." Which is questionable, I think, but sure. And I don't know that it really actually is reflected in the top 100 list we're about to look through. But let's dive in. The list kicks off at number 100 with Kicks. Get it? I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I've never known.
No, it is Kicks. Yeah. I'm almost positive.
But it also there's no list anywhere in 2025 that would ever have Kicks in the top 100.
If
so
you don't see this,
if
you've played Kicks, if you know what Kicks is, then you, as I did, and I'm sure Aidan, you did. Go, okay, cool. Yeah. What's number 100? You flip the page, Kicks, and you just laugh and laugh and laugh.
That's all you can do.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Also, if you know what Kicks is, your back probably hurts right now.
That's true. That's true.
Kicks is followed at 99 by Samurai Showdown, then Virtual Cop 2, MLB 98 at 97, and then Wipeout XL at number 96. It takes all the way to get to the first banger, Wave Race 64 at number 68. So close. But,
hold on. Wait. Are you insinuating that there's no... First of all, that Wipeout XL is not a banger.
No,
Second
Wave
of all,
Race 64 banger.
Okay. Hold on. Which, first of all, I just need
Ice
to contrast.
Hockey is a banger. NES Ice Hockey.
Yes.
At number 94 is a banger.
And I'm sorry. Baseball fucking stars. Baseball Stars.
Number 87, by the way. Everybody.
87. And okay, good. Fine. 87. This is my first, I would put this higher. And again, personally for me, it's my thing. Literally, and I've thought about this, and this here's our mandatory every episode mention of My Perfect Console. I guarantee you this game is on my perfect console, perfect console, Baseball Stars. And like
Simon, have us on.
Simon. Let's do it. Yeah. But just another baseball game, right? Try again. Baseball Stars stands up to some of today's best as far as gameplay is concerned, and every bit as fun as it was 8 years ago when it was the best baseball game the NES ever saw. And like, the gameplay is arcadey. It's of the 8 and 16-bit generation, right? You're controlling the ball as it flies with the D-pad. You're not like calling for a curveball and adjusting that kind of thing, right? Like, but like there's so much stuff to it. I'm not going to go that much into Baseball Stars, but like it just shows the challenge that you have in trying to contextualize Baseball Stars against Panzer Dragoons Y. Like, this is so difficult to do, and I can and would make a case for it to be a little bit higher at this point in time. But also, if I had to make like objectively 100 best games of all time, besides it taking me 6 months and doing nothing else in the process, I can't guarantee Baseball Stars gets higher than 87.
Let's see. Okay, so 68. That's still where I'm putting the bar. Jumping Flash 2. It's fine. Mega Man X4. Not very good. And it's at 76.
Mega Man X4 ahead of... I mean, there's 12 games that I think is a legitimate crime that Mega Man X4 games. Is ahead of at 70. No, but I mean... Right. Half the games that Mega Man X4 is ahead of it's criminal. They should be put in jail for putting it ahead of. And yet, here's Blazing Lasers at 77, one of my all-time faves, and I'm so glad to see it here.
Yeah, Blazing Lasers. We got Zelda 2 at 72.
Now I'll say Next Generation's list consolidated series into one to avoid this exact problem, which we can quibble, right? But also we're not gonna have nowadays. You go, okay, Zelda. There's gonna be 7 Zelda games in the top 100, right? So you try and consolidate that down. I think it's interesting that Zelda 2, which went through maligned, reassessed, like 7 times in the 30 years between then and now, right? And here it is in the top 100. That's fascinating.
Keep in mind at this point too, there's only 4 Zelda games, all of which I think appear on this list. Mega Man 2 at 73. I'm not a Mega Man fan, but that seems low.
Agreed.
Considering
I am, and it is. This is the first game that I bought 100% with my own money. We're talking about birthday and Christmas stuff. Yeah. I bought Mega Man 2 at Babbage's with 55 American dollars of my own money. I was
$300 now.
I was born in 1981. This is released in 1989. You do the math. I had to save. I had to beg, borrow, scrimp, and then take the birthday money, all of it, and then go buy Mega Man 2. And 73 is low, especially when we consider the cutoff point.
Yeah. So what's better than Mega Man 2? Let's keep scrolling.
Snatcher
at 69.
I'm sorry, nice. What? Okay.
Very nice. This is actually a banger at 69. Snatcher.
Okay. Yeah.
68, Wave Race 64. Number 67. I cannot pass up the opportunity to annoy my kids by pointing out number 67.
Oh, yes. 67.
Donkey Kong 94 on the Game Boy, which deserves to be way higher in retrospect. Absolute classic game. So 69, 68, 67. We got 2 meme numbers right in there, and sandwiched in between is Wave Race 64. What stands out from sort of this period of, you've pointed out Blazing Lasers?
Yeah, Blazing Lasers, a vertical scrolling shooter for turbo graphics. Absolute pinnacle for me of this format. The power-ups, the enemy variety, a lot of the art design, right? A lot of it is like spaceships, but there's also like you're just in some sort of weird beast. Like everything is like innards and villi and veins and stuff, and all the enemies are like weird organelles and everything. For no story, no description, no nothing. And one of my big COVID things was I went back. We got my wife's TurboGrafx out of the basement, and I played through. I spent like a week and a half just bunkering down and beating this thing. I never got past level 4 back in the day. I beat this thing, and there was so little explanation for anything that when I got to the very end of the game, I blew up this big like robot cube, and it opened up, and there was this pretty lady in a dress, and I went, "Oh, I guess I must have saved the princess?" Question mark. And then she just opened her arms, and bombs just started raining down on me. I'm like, "Oh no, she's I guess the evil queen." And like somehow I just clutched up and won, and it was like one of the greatest triumphs of my gaming life.
Amazing. Somebody liked Alien, I guess.
Yeah. And it was just phenomenal. And you know, you see the bullet hell stuff today, you know, some of the stuff that went back, and some of the stuff that built on this, some of the stuff that's gone back. This is just so well tuned. I think this is Hudson Soft, the team that was doing these vertical scrolling shooters. This is the best they ever did it, and they were the best to ever do it.
So we've got, through the 60s, we've got games like Guardian Heroes, which is fabulous, Tecmo Super Bowl.
The aforementioned Tecmo Super Bowl.
Phantasy Star, the original, at number 62. We've got some good ones. Shining Force 2 is at 60. We've got Dragon Warrior 4, I believe the only Dragon Warrior on a Dragon Quest now, on the list at 58. But 4 is one of the best in the series. Not very influential at that time. I feel like the series has more of a presence in the West at this point. And I expect something like Dragon Quest 4 might rank higher nowadays. Tomb Raider at number 54 feels low just because of its influence, I think. It ranks very high on the reader's top 10, which we'll get to in a moment. 54 feels kind of low for Tomb Raider.
It feels,
right?
And it feels like an intentional attempt to avoid recency bias, right? It feels like they were
does
like,
feel that way for sure.
Yeah.
55 Dragon Force. I love seeing some representation for the Saturn and Dragon Force on there, which is pretty fun.
Castlevania 3, my favorite Dracula from back in the day. I'm sorry, my favorite Dracula. My favorite Castlevania, reading and talking at the same time. Always difficult. So Castlevania 3 was killer. Super Punch-Out, still a lot of people's favorite of the Punch-Out series. 56, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, we've got, Mario Kart 64 at number 49, Ghouls and Ghosts at 47, Contra 45.
I'm sorry.
So we're starting to get into some...
RC Pro-Am at 52,
52
and Mario Kart 64 at 49 is bananas. That's not I had a little bit of fun with RC Pro-Am, especially for NES. Like, if you're telling me like you played the arcade and you liked it, like that's fine. If you're telling me you played the NES RC Pro-Am and you're like, yeah, that's basically just as good as Mario Kart 64, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. That's nostalgia.
Mario Kart 64 is probably like this one of the it's the Mario Kart I've had maybe the most fun with, but probably the worst from an actual gameplay perspective. But in any case, Military Madness is a funny one. I feel like there was somebody who loved the TurboGrafx 16. Like, I don't think many top 100 lists would have a single TurboGrafx 16 game, let alone like multiples. And Military Madness is an interesting one because it's an interesting game, but the 48th best game of all time. Oh, this is fabulous audio.
Look at all these TurboGrafx games. I have a working TurboGrafx and like 30 games.
Those cards are sweet.
3 feet to my right. I have never heard of Military Madness.
You picked them up pretty fast. I had a friend who had a TurboGrafx 16.
They're right there. The TurboGrafx I think they were pandering, right there.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this game.
Ty, apparently. We're starting to get into some like legitimately like games that I think are legitimately like high end, high value classics. As we get into like the low 40s into the 30s, number 29 is where things start to get really spicy. Let's keep scrolling here. So we've got the original Metroid at 44. We've got Strider, underrated game. Number 42.
Game.
And then as we get into the 30s, we've got some good ones coming in here. Lunar Eternal Blue is a big one for me. I prefer the first game, not on the list. Star Fox 64, banger. Super Mario Bros, but specifically the All-Stars edition, which I think is an opinion that hasn't aged well. There's a lot of issues with the All-Stars editions, even though they're pretty. And like honestly, Super Mario Bros at number 37 is crazy.
Yes.
But in any case, 36, we've got Street Fighter Alpha 2. We've got Kid Icarus coming in at 34. The original Metal Gear at 35.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, sure. Metal Gear Solid, of course, not out yet. But, which really kind of revitalized interest in the series. So seeing Metal Gear at that high is interesting. Number 29, just ahead of Phantasy Star 2, we've got Chrono Trigger. Number 29. We've got Chrono Trigger. It is lumped in with The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening at 28. Those two games would make up 2 of my 3 top 5 games of all time. So, little low. We're officially moving into the...
Hey, yeah, and we got Phantasy Star 2 and Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
Sandwiching them, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. And again, this goes back to, as we discussed in our second ever episode, I felt like this weird hipster opinion, like I've gone back and forth over the years to be like, oh, Chrono Trigger, it was a huge release, it was hugely marketed. I forgot, going back and looking, how many of these magazines that we have looked at have been just stuffed with Chrono Trigger ads, right? Yes. Like, there's no question. It got a huge marketing push. It was the dream team. It was a moonshot. It was building on a gigantic hit, 2 gigantic hit series, all this other stuff. There's no question that historians remember it as a pinnacle for the console, maybe the genre, maybe for multiple generations of the genre, right? Like, no question. Also, it felt like a secret that me and my friends shared, right? It felt like I was evangelizing to friends, and then it was like, like there's a handful of people in school who even knew about this game, right?
Yeah.
And all of us thought it was the best game ever. And then going back and listing, and it's like Chrono Trigger at 29, 2 years after its release, out of the top 100 of all time. And like we said, it's like something like 18% of all people, loosely defined, working in game media will put this game number 1 ever.
Number 1, yeah.
And
that's how its kind of reputation has changed, right?
Yeah, so it is validating to see that it has not been pegged at number 1 this entire time, and I'm just pretending to be hipstery. It was big, it was a big hit, but it also wasn't the biggest, and it wasn't at the time in the West thought of as one with a bullet forever.
And that's like something that I talk about, like having written my book, Fight Magic Items, looking at the success of Japanese RPGs in the West is, Chrono Trigger was as big as a Japanese RPG could get in the West at that point. That meant selling 300 to 600,000 units, right? And so that was big at that time. Final Fantasy VII sold 10 million, right? And so it does put that into perspective. And 29 seems laughable at this point, but perspective changes over time as well. We are now moving into the 20s, keeping in mind we are now in the officially better than Chrono Trigger tier. Let me read you some of these games. Number 24, International Superstar Soccer 64.
This is the one we've said after multiple episodes. I missed this. This is a blind spot of mine. I don't know how I missed it. We saw it. I made fun of it. I clowned it. Every magazine we've read was like, this is great. This is great. Like the best soccer game of its
better
generation.
Than Chrono Trigger.
Better than Chrono Trigger,
Mario
allegedly.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Almost as good as Final Fantasy VII, which comes in at number 21. Then we have in the better than Chrono Trigger tier, Madden NFL 98.
Dude. No.
At number 19.
No. No.
18, we have F-Zero. I think sports games in particular are interesting because, like, they're so iterative that including any one version feels...
Nobody who loved
dodgy.
Madden 95 and 96 played Madden 98 and thought, like, hell yeah, this rules. They're like, okay, we're getting there. You're figuring it out. You're getting back to this is fine.
But
EGM
says it's better than Final Fantasy VII and Chrono Trigger.
Preposterous.
Number 17, Sonic CD, better than Chrono Trigger. Number 16, Tetris Attack. That's a game I would hear an argument for being in Chrono Trigger's tier.
Okay. Love
Tetris Attack. Panel to Pawn. So
I don't think I played it.
It's good. It's a good one. I mean, there's so many variations of it. It's like a puzzle. It's a tile moving puzzle game. Number 15, Super Mario Kart. So we're getting into like, these are undisputable classics at this point. Yeah. Number 14, Super Mario Brothers 2 All-Star Edition. I like Super Mario Brothers 2, but keeping in mind that Super Mario Brothers 1 has already been, listed, seems, I don't know. Man, there's only 14 spots in the top 14, and I'm not sure you can justify really Super Mario Brothers 2.
Let alone specifically the
All-Stars Edition. Yeah, exactly.
That I don't think most people even remember exists.
Legend of Zelda at number 13, probably too low considering, but there's, another Zelda game to come. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. We talked about recency bias. We talk about games that have aged and, are considered classics, but maybe weren't recognized at the time. I think 12 is a pretty great placement for Symphony of the Night. Like, I'm really happy to see it this high up on the list. Just outside the top 10. It might make my personal top 10, but I'm happy to see it here. I'm happy to see it listed so high, right above Super Mario World at number 11. Number 10, Saturn Bomberman, which is a good game. It's a cool game. It's feels a little niche and like of the time to me to kick off the top 10.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 6 is at number 9.
I had a brief disassociation. When I saw Final Fantasy 3, I'm like, what a weird pull. Oh no, they mean right.
It's a good one, and like, this is an instance where its reputation at the time was, I think, held up stronger than Chrono Trigger, because I think it introduced more people to the genre as well than Chrono Trigger did at the time. Contra 3 and number 8. I'm not really a Contra guy, so I'll withhold judgment. It has a good reputation. Number 7, Yoshi's
Island.
This is fascinating because I think this is very, very well earned. It's another game that would be in my personal top 5.
And 2% better than Bug, according to
2% better than Bug. But at this time, it was really divisive. It wasn't recognized or considered necessarily. Some people saw it this way, but lots of people also wrote it off because of its cartoony, like crayon-y graphics, the baby crying, not really taking it seriously as a game. So to see it in the top 7 really impressed me. Super Metroid at number 6, which feels low to me, but all of these at this point, Super Mario 64 is at number 4. I think, hey, that feels too low, but what are you going to kick out of the top 3? We have Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting at number 5.
Sure.
But, like, what are you going to kick out of the top 3 for Mario 64 or Super Metroid? We've got Link to the Past at number 3, Super Mario Brothers 3 at number 2, which I think is well deserved. Again, it's the All-Stars edition. NES version's better, but fine. Number 1.
If you guess, I did both of these. Link to the Past, I did Tales from the Backlog. Dave Jackson's podcast, I did the Link to the Past episode, right. So I played through that for the first time for that game. And if you want my opinion on where this stacks up in games of all time and Zelda games of all time, I encourage you to subscribe to Tales from the Backlog and check that out. Super Mario's 3, I will be appearing on an upcoming podcast, which you will find out soon enough if you follow socials. I'll be talking about my take on Super Mario Brothers 3 at that time. Non-All-Stars edition, by the way.
But also throughout this whole feature, they've been featuring like art from the games. As like a weird like center divider. It looks cool, just like it's an art feature. But this one uses like a weird 3D render from Super Mario RPG instead of the amazing Super Mario Brothers 3 art, key art.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing?
the one in the middle there, not the screenshot.
Oh, this thing. Yeah. Like what? Okay.
Yeah. Number one, which I think holds up. What is it, Ty?
Well, it's Tetris.
Tetris. Yeah.
Alexei Pajitnov's multi-platform, multi-publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Classic.
Been on everything.
We have Tetris Junior here on the keychain. Best keychain game.
If you
of all
released
time,
a top 100 today, and Tetris was number one, I wouldn't say no. I've been playing it for my entire, like, I got a Game Boy when I was 8.
Yeah.
And I pick up Tetris, and I pick up the Rosie, Rosie retrospective version of Tetris on the Game Boy. It's like fan mod. Amazing. I lose hours to it. I don't know. I can't knock this. I think it's good.
Yeah, I think, and Andrew in the chat is saying some stuff I agree with, where it's like, okay, there's no question in terms of game design, game execution, game success. The fact that the concept, even at the time, was on so many different platforms, so many different developers, so many different publishers, so many different implementations, right? And the core of it is just so good that it survives and works, and it's just as addictive and just as fun and just as universal. Like, everybody who plays this instantly goes, oh, I get this.
Yeah.
Whether you're bad at it or good at it, you get it. And you like it.
Like, for issue 200, EGM, and we'll get there, but EGM does another top 100 list. And I think that's when Super Metroid tops the top 100 list. That's another game that I look at and I say, if you put Super Metroid at top of your top 100 list, like, I'm not going to bat an eye. But my mom wouldn't pick up Super Metroid and enjoy it.
No.
Right? You know, Tetris just has that universal appeal. Like, my mom was so good at Tetris. And I think that recognizing a game that has universal appeal as the greatest game of all time is really important. Because gateways to get people into gaming is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of, you know, we talked about this right at the beginning, right? We said, okay, if the North Star is gameplay is what matters, ultimately, right? Absolutely. I don't want to say this has to be number one, but it makes sense to make it number one. And it's a very, very solid case to make it number one. I think today there are so many achievements in gaming, you know, it's built on this. It's built on everything that's been done before, right? You know, and that's not just graphically, but you know, in terms of, you know, concept and sound design and execution, and, you know, there's so many better tools for interactivity, right? Like, I don't know that you can necessarily say that there's a game that's as universally playable and beloved and intuitive and everything else as Tetris is, but I also don't think we achieved the peak of the medium in 1988, and it'll never be any better, right? Like, if you think the best video game that has ever been made, can ever be made, was made in 1988, I just don't, I can't get on board with that, right? So if you go Tetris has to be one forever.
What's your favorite album?
Right, well, I was literally just about to go, no, I'm sorry, whatever your favorite Beatles album is must be the best album ever made forever. Well, like, no, it's not. You know, like, influence, okay,
explain
fine.
how nobody's made a better film than Jurassic Park.
Okay. Well, also, but Jurassic Park is 100 years into movie making.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Tetris is like generously 30 years into game making, right? And like movie making, the technology of movie making is what it is for, you know, however many years, right? I also don't think, you know, Metropolis was the best movie ever made for like 50 years. It's not the best movie ever made. right? Like, it's just not.
But
You know?
like, so when you're evaluating this, like we've talked a lot about context as well.
Yeah.
Is Metropolis the best movie ever made, considering the circumstances of its creation, when it was made, the technology it was made, the impact it had?
You know, another thing that EGM said was these are the best games of our lives, right? And that's also the context that we're talking about, is these guys in their 20s and 30s, right? And influence that it had on them, and these are people who continue to be, you know, who only got more influential in the industry in some cases, right? Or switched and became game developers or game marketers, right? Or left the industry entirely, whatever, and went on to do other things, sometimes bigger and better things, right? So like, yeah, I'm not quibbling necessarily with Tetris at number one in this spot. I do think if you're going, look, Tetris has to be number one forever, no matter what anybody else does ever. I do quibble with that. And like, yes, context is part of it. But I, you know, can nobody ever make a movie better than Jurassic Park? No, I don't think that's true.
But like, how do you measure that?
Right.
Right? Like, if you have something that's, you know, close to perfection, why can't that just be?
Well,
right? Like why?
The keychain Tetris is not the same Tetris as you know, like we're giving it this, you know, but keychain Tetris, like the game design is so great, but the execution,
yes, yeah, exactly. The concept, the idea, the design, like it works on a keychain, but you can play it on a building.
But Jurassic Park,
or you can have competitive level Tetris. Like,
yeah,
it just like, I just don't know. Can you make a game better than that? Like, it just becomes so subjective at that point, right?
Yeah.
And like, I guess like coming back to like methodology, I wonder, looking at everybody, I'd love to see everybody's top 10 list and what went into this discussion, because Tetris might have been a game that maybe it wasn't number one on anyone's list.
No, it was number one. But
maybe
on,
it was
three
on everybois top 10 list.
It was number one on like three of them. I think it's the other way around. I think where is that? Was it 169? I actually, and that was one of the things that I noted, was that this behind the scenes thing here, right? Okay, here we go. So Crispin, number one Tetris Game Boy. Sean Smith, number one Tetris Game Boy. Dan Shu, Tetris and Dr. Mario for Super Nintendo, 10. Tetris Attack was 2. Go through these.
Tetris Attack is paneled upon, basically, but
yeah,
it's a different game.
Yeah, but it's on the list. It's on the top 100.
But it's not Tetris. It's like a entirely different puzzle game. It just has a Tetris name.
Tetris Game Boy is 4 for John Riccardi. Craig Kujawa has Tetris number 1 for Game Boy. Not on the list for Sushi X. Kelly
Are they all fighting games for Sushi X?
Yes. No. Mario 64, Tomb Raider, Mega Man, Star Fox, Super Metroid. The rest are all Tekken 2, Street Fighter Alpha 2, King of Fighters 95, Street Fighter EX Alpha Plus, Street Fighter Collection. No Tetris for Kelly Rickards. Yeah, but like, yeah, Tetris was 1 or very high, or at least on the list for most of the, and that's why I started going, oh, I see how we got to Tetris number 1. It's because a lot of these, a lot of the people making the list had it number 1 on their personal lists.
Yeah. I guess I just think, like, if I put 100 people in a room, random, like, assortment of people, right? People who love games, people who play games competitively, people who have never touched a game, people, whatever. And I gave them Tetris, and I gave them Super Metroid, and I gave them A Link to the Past, or whatever. Any of the top
Breath
10.
of the Wild, yeah. We're talking just in this context. In this context,
yeah, sure. But even not in this context. Like, give them Half-Life 2, give them, like all the stuff that end Ocarina of Time. I bet.
Yeah.
You put those 100 people in a room, and I bet at the end of 100 days, Tetris comes out with the highest playtime. Because you get a few people who gravitate towards some of the games and play them at length. I bet 93 of those 100 people regularly play Tetris. Some of them like obsessively, some of them just 2 games a day. And to me, there's just like value in something that is so like, it's like milk. Can you make a better drink than milk? Right? It's like you don't have to, because it just is what it is. And that, to me, that's where Tetris is. It's just like, can you achieve something that is, consequential like Tetris? Like, for sure. But like nothing will ever make Tetris less than it is. Just like nothing will ever make milk. We could just drink water, but we got milk. It's water with fat in it.
What a tagline. American Dairy Council. Holler at us.
We got milk commercials in BC. We got our BC Milk Association. They can hire me. But yeah, so I like, you can make. Yeah, I just think Tetris, like, I don't know. Sometimes you just get it right. Pencils. Yeah. They just like fucking nailed pencils. However long ago that was. Right?
Yeah.
And they're just like great. Well, they got better when you took lead out of them.
Yeah. So Tetris, it's like water with fat, but without lead.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. That's Tetris. It's water with fat, but not lead.
Okay. So what are we scoring this, Aidan?
Well, yeah. What do you think? That's kind of my score, I think. Those sounds.
Okay.
100.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very clear that they did put a lot of time into this. It's very clear that they stayed relatively true to their North Star of gameplay. It's very true, I think, that they tried to control for recency bias, and that's, Tomb Raider #1, because it's the cool thing we all played this past year, right? And that we're all excited for, that our magazine is filled with ads for Tomb Raider 2. We can't wait for it, So, like, that's cool. The choice of All-Stars Edition across the board for the Mario games is wild. The choice to break out all of the Mario and Zelda games separately and then make sure they're all in there, even though, I don't think a lot of them were thought of all that belovedly at the time. I don't think at this time a lot of people were, like, going hard in the paint for either Zelda 2 or Super Mario 2. So, again, and then... So it's like the recency bias is there. They tried to control for it. The nostalgia is there. They tried to control for it. Kicks, I think, was genuinely... I had a hell of a time with Kicks on the Game Boy because I think it was a great Game Boy game.
That's where I played it as well, yeah.
I don't think Kicks on the NES... If I'm on the NES... I've got Super Mario 3. What am I playing Kicks for? If I got a Game Boy, yeah, I can kill some time with Kicks. Yeah, that's fun. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't fun. Yeah, your heart beats a little bit. You're trying to beat that thing to the thing. Ooh. Oh, okay, cool. I got the line. Okay, great. It was a good game. I'm not, but like it was, to me, it was so much better on a handheld platform at the time.
Yeah.
The limitations of the platform. And if all you've got is a keychain, you can make a Tetris that's fun. You can't make a Mario that's fun, right? Anyway, overall, I think it was ambitious. I think they did well. And I will say, I will give it 79 top 100s out of 100. Because I think, like you and I both pointed out, there's some stuff, even if you try and time warp back to my own self and trying to control from my own personal bias in 1997, there are some decisions that are just indefensible. I don't understand, if you're going to go hard in the paint for Final Fantasy VI at 9, what is Chrono Trigger doing at like 24, 26? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. If you're going to put, you got Super Ghouls and Ghosts, which is like fine and fun at
But
22.
is it fun? Was it fun?
No, it wasn't fun. Let me
No.
I'm gonna roll that back. It was fun for like future like Dark Souls perverts, right? It was
Yeah.
it was fun for people who are like, this game is literally impossible. It
Yeah.
cheats constantly. I no normal human can get more than 30 seconds into the
Like,
game.
Religious fundamentalists in the self-flagellation.
Right. Yes,
liked it.
literally that. And like, okay, fine. I guess one of those sickos was on this staff, right? Like Madden 98, I don't think there's anybody who thought the PlayStation 1 Maddens could hold a candle to the SNES or Genesis Maddens. You know, nobody thought those games were as good or as fun. They like got there eventually, but they were not good, and they were not the best football games available at the time either. Like, where's Game Day? If Madden 98 is the 19th best game of all time, where the hell is Game Day? Because it was better. Like, they, you know, like at the time, right? Like, it was better reviewed. And so like there's just too many, wait, this does not track. If this is here, then where is that?
And like, without knowing what the methodology is, or like maybe even if they had each little write-up attributed to a writer, you could sort of start to like recognize that, like, hey, this writer really loved it and they fought for it to be here. But as some sort of like, you know, overall list not attributed to anybody in particular, it's just really hard to justify, you know, some of these contributions
And like,
or some of these placements.
God
as like,
bless the TurboGrafx pervert that got Blazing Lasers and Devil's Crush on this list, because I think there's a legitimate argument to be made. That Blazing Lasers is the best vertical scrolling shooter ever, and it holds up. Devil's Crush also was the gold standard for pinball games at the time and might still be. Not a ton of people played it.
Number 50?
It's there at 50, right? And that's high. Military Madness, again. There are other war games that people played and knew. Like, I didn't think there were any PC on here, but like, again, I was a relative TurboGrafx sicko at the time. I've never heard of this game. I don't know how it's here.
I know it from the Wii U Virtual Console.
Oh, there you go.
Which is interesting. And like, I guess one bit of context too is like in 1997, like I had a Super Nintendo and a Game Boy and a PlayStation, you know, like, but I didn't have access outside of friends' houses to stuff like TurboGrafx 16 or Sega Genesis, or even like a lot of the action games on Super Nintendo. And so like a lot of these were just outside of my wheelhouse entirely. I imagine if I went and looked at the issue 200 top 100 list, it would jive a lot more with my actual personal experience. I know these games in hindsight, and I've played a lot of them now, and so I can look at it with hindsight. Really hard to place myself in 1997 saying, hey, this is what I think of NHL Hockey 94 or Thunder Force 3, which are 61 and 59 respectively.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of tricky. And like, I was also playing a lot of PC games, and so we're missing a lot of like real tentpole releases. Baldur's Gate, Diablo, Warcraft 2, Doom, Quake. You know, they're some of the absolute best games.
Yes.
That would probably dominate the top 20, just aren't even included in here because EGM was a console magazine.
Yeah. And like, yeah, again, I still... Yeah, some of this, like, okay, NHL Hockey 94 is probably low at 61 at this point. Like, the movie Swingers has a scene where they play NHL 94. You know what I mean? Right. Like, this had cultural penetration better than a lot of these other games. And yet, like, what is Gate of Thunder?
And I guess
Ghouls and Ghosts and Super Ghouls and Ghosts both make the list separately.
Yeah,
like, man, what? Like,
but I guess, like, are we looking at this as like, hey, did they see the future and recognize the impact these had? Or is it like, hey, here are the games that kind of like shaped our lives? And, those are different questions, right? Did they get it right at the time versus did they get it right 28 years later? Are kind of different questions. And I think, like, I don't think the list holds up very well. But as we talk through this, I don't know that I could put myself in the shoes to say, hey, I could confidently rank Space Megaforce compared to Devil's Crush. right? Like Space Megaforce at 46. Like Space Megaforce is not a game that has historical impact.
Well, see,
right?
and here, did you know the developers who created the classic TurboGrafx shooter Blazing Lasers, C number 77, created Space Megaforce? Oh, okay. Well, that's 1992 on the Super. Like, I don't know. If you're creating a top 100 of all time, like, there's
And
too
in the
many
top 50,
iterations.
you kind of need to you need a little more juice than hey, this was made by the same developer as number 77.
Yeah.
Too.
Like, and you're probably including too many of the same games by the same people to me, right? Like, if you probably had some sort of a matrix of, we need this many shooters, we need this many RPGs. You know, you definitely tried, and I respect that. But also, then you're like, if you're trying to shoehorn in, some of these games, then I don't think that's the way to do it.
No, in some ways it does feel to me like there were some quotas on consoles or genres or whatever that they were trying to hit. That makes it feel a little clunky.
Yeah. That's our review of EGM's review of basically every game ever made up until October 1997. Did we get it right? Leave a review at Apple Podcasts. Post it as a comment on YouTube. We will read the best ones on air. And hey, go ahead. Pass the show around to all your friends like it's third grade and we're on the playground. Shout us out on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok at FunFactor Pod. Special thanks, as always, to Millennium Falck for all our amazing original music. Check out his work at millenniumfalck.com. And unlike the old magazines, you won't have to wait a whole month for your next installment. We drop new episodes every 2 weeks. Just go to funfactorpod.com to follow our show on your podcatcher of choice, and please consider becoming a member of FunFactor Ultra, our premium tiers that unlock ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, and the members-only channels of our Discord. Just go to funfactorpod.com, and I promise you won't miss the sign-up widget on our homepage. If you do, you and we will have a maximum score in Fun Factor.